Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel Tabby Loves. I'm Tabitha and I talk to you about the things that I love. Today we are going to be doing my July reading wrap up and my August TBR. I am so excited for this month. Like, I read so many good things this month and I feel like I had like a good variety this month too. There was some 2 stars, but there were a lot of 5 stars, so I'm really excited to get into it. So without further ado, let's talk about July reading. Like how I like to do that on this channel, we are going to be going from hated to favorite. And so because of that, we're going to be starting out with my least favorite book of the month, which was When the Sky Fell on Splendor. Now, this book is one that I read for the Emily Henry deep dive. It is one of her YA, I don't even know if this counts as fantasy, science fiction, whatever. It was strange. Basically, we are following a bunch of teenagers. They are all like, it's their last summer before some of them leave for college, and the group is broken up or whatever, and they like to do these fake paranormal investigation kind of videos, and they happen to come across a satellite that had crashed nearby, and it gives them all these super weird powers, and there is this like subplot underneath it all about how there was this big accident that occurred like 5 years before the event of the books, and book singular. And there was this big accident that happened at this one factory, and basically like a crane piece fell off and hit a vat of super hot metal, which fell over and like killed quite a few people, and they all blame the guy that wasn't there for whatever reason, and so he's like the town outcast now. So not only are they trying to figure out how an alien kind of gave them these powers and all of this weird stuff, but they're also like think that this guy is like building a bomb and is going to attack the community again. It was all very weird. It was all very weird. The twist was not surprising. I won't get into it here. If you want to hear me get into it, go watch my Emily Henry deep dive video where I talked about each of the books in depth with spoilers, but I'll keep it spoiler free here. I'll just say I did not like a single one of the main characters. I hated every single one of them, which is the main reason this book got 2 stars. I think the concept was interesting. I thought that, like, the writing wasn't bad, but the characters were bad, which, considering Emily Henry's later books that are so character focused, I'm kind of surprised. However, I guess you can't win them all. You can't win them all, and that book is now my poster child for why it is a good idea to go back and give authors that have a book you didn't like a second chance, because if I had read this book by Emily Henry first, I would not have read another Emily Henry book ever. So take with that what you will. And like I said, I rated this book low. I gave it 2 stars. So yeah. Up next we have it's actually the Exploring Smut book for July, which is Moon Touched, which also got 2 stars. I was so disappointed by this one. I was hoping for more. I was excited to do a Wolf Shifter book for Exploring Smut, and unfortunately, it did not deliver the way I was hoping it was going to deliver. It did not scratch the itch I was hoping to scratch, but that's okay. I did find it slightly more entertaining than When the Sky Fell on Splendor. I still hated the main character in this. I thought she was a little bit whiny. I thought that kind of the sequence of events and like the lead up and like the assumptions that she jumps to didn't fully make sense. The romance was kind of awful. The spice was mediocre. It follows this girl that's like half human, half wolf shifter, and she's like the like, I don't know how to phrase it because it's not Omega necessarily, but she's like the lowest of the pack. Omega nowadays has a different, connotation. I meant like Omega, like sometimes Omegas are referred to as like the outcast of the packs. Unrelated unrelated to the Omegaverse, but she's like the outcast of the pack. Even her own dad, who is the pack alpha, doesn't want her. And these wolf shifters, they have packs based off of the zodiac signs. So everyone in the Cancer pack is a Cancer, but she's not, which is another reason she's an outsider. And they hate half humans and all of this. And apparently it's because her dad cheated on his mate, I guess, with her mom. And her mom just like gave her back to him or whatever. And she doesn't know what happened to her after all of this. She goes to finally get her wolf unlocked, which happens at 22. And hopefully get a mate. She's hoping she'll get a mate from a different pack, which will let her leave the Cancer pack. And basically, she gets there, she does get her wolf unlocked, which, it's a pure white wolf, by the way. Anyone that reads Wolf Shifters is not surprised by that, because that's like a trope as old as time, as old as fanfiction time, the pure white wolf. But don't get me started on that, it doesn't matter. And she gets mated to this guy from the Leo pack, but the Leo pack is bitter enemies with the Cancer pack, and he rejects the mating bond, and it's a whole thing. There's a 13th pack that comes into play that wants to be like recognized as a pack again, and they're the ones that end up taking her in after the Leo pack completely destroys the Cancer pack, and everything goes from there. That was kind of spoiler, but all that stuff happens at the very beginning of the book, and you kind of know going into that something that's going to happen, at least. So yeah, it could have been better. There was opportunities for it to be better, and it just was not. So I'm hoping that this upcoming month's Exploring Smut pick will be better, which I will be talking about closer to the end when I talk about my August TBR. But let's move on. Finally rising up to the 3-star rank, and that is Agnes Abiert's Mystical Cat Shelter. This one was a lot of fun. I thought it was set in France. I was wrong. It's set in a French-speaking part of Canada, I guess. I think it's set in Montreal or something like that. Obviously I missed that in the book, but someone in the reviews said that that's where it was set, so I believe them. But it follows a woman who runs a cat shelter, and some dueling magicians had completely destroyed her shop, so she was looking for a new place to set up a cat shelter, and ends up finding this perfect place that has one caveat, and that is that this super highly wanted dark magician is hanging out in the basement, and he's technically her landlord. It gives very much Howl's Moving Castle vibes. I didn't think so at first, and I didn't think it had the vibes to such a degree that it was like a ripoff. Like, I heard some people saying that this book was just basically the same thing as Howl's Moving Castle, and it made them like bring it down star levels. I do not think it was that close of a comparison. I could see some aspects being similar. There was definitely similarities, but I think it was different enough that it could definitely stand on its own. And I overall thought it was a lot of fun. Again, it got some points off for just the main character. There was like a journey that it seemed like the book wanted to go on with her prejudice against magic users, but then it never actually did the work of her unlearning the prejudice. It just was kind of, at one point she was just suddenly kind of okay with magic, and even then she still had like gripes about it. So I don't know, I didn't really like her character journey. The romance, if you could call it that, was very subtle, very not a big part of the story, but like it was fun. I thought it was cute. I had a good time with it. I've read some better cozy books this month than this one. However, again, if you like cats, there is a bunch of cats. I think my one other gripe that I had with this book is that I was actually hoping her doing the stuff in the shelter would have been a bigger part of the book, and instead it was mostly her trying to figure out how to get around or looking for some big, like, magical item, I guess. Because the magic system in this was actually pretty cool. It's, like, enchanted objects more than a person's individual power, though an individual power does come into play. And there's like a magic realm called the Ravenwood or the Rivenwood or something like that. That is where the magicians get their power, but it kind of like warps them. It was all like, it was definitely a very interesting like magic setup, which is why this book got like a lot of stars still. Like 3 stars is not a bad rating to me. So I was really invested in that, even though it did make the cat shelter part of this book a lot less prevalent. But yeah, so overall, I think if you like cozy books, if you like cats, I would recommend. All right, moving up to 4 stars. I read The Ministry of Time. This one was really interesting. It basically followed a kind of government program in London where they went back in time and they took people that were like gonna die anyway and bring them back into the present. And basically they were each assigned a person from the present that had to be like basically their roommate, or they called them their anchor, that was supposed to teach them about the modern world. It was also an experiment to see how like the body reacts to the time travel, like if time travel is safe, and further like experiments that they want to do on it, that kind of thing. And I thought it was really interesting. The main character, she ended up being the anchor to this guy. I'm blanking on his name. I feel bad. It wasn't even that long that I read this book, but it was something like John, I want to say his name was just John. It was something really basic. But he was part of a fatal Antarctica expedition, or Arctic expedition, or something like that, where a bunch of ships went missing and a bunch of people died. And when they found the remains a lot later, there's like signs of cannibalism, like all of this dark stuff. But they basically took him before the events that caused everyone's deaths happened. And therefore no one ever knew that he disappeared because everyone died, so there was no like records or whatever. And so she gets set up with this dude as like, again, his roommate, his anchor, and they just kind of there's obviously secrets, like there's obviously this program is not what it seems, all of this kind of interesting stuff, and they end up kind of falling in love. I say kind of because it was definitely like, I wouldn't say the romance was it was an important part of the story, but not a big part of the story for, like, things that happen at the end. Like, if you didn't have the romance, the motivations wouldn't be the same, but I digress. If you like time travel, you'd probably like this one. Again, it was 4 stars. It was still pretty good. I really liked it. The ending made me, like, a little bit, like, I thought the ending was a little bit stupid. Like, the way that the events happened at the end, and the reason for, I don't know how to say this without like it being a spoiler. The reason that the situation between the main characters happens at the end, I thought was a bit underwhelming, but that's just me. I still highly recommend this book. And like this book doesn't need me to recommend it. It's super popular. It like won awards and stuff. So like I'm sure a lot of you already know about it, but if you haven't, I recommend. Up next, also part of my Emily Henry deep dive, but this one got 5 stars, and that is Beach Read by Emily Henry. This book is the kind of crossing over point. It was her first like contemporary adult romance, and this is like the book that set her career on the trajectory it is now. And you could tell her like young adult roots in this, but you could also see the steps that she took to go to that next level, and I thought it really worked. The main character, what was her name? Her name was January. That's I hate that her name was January, but it's fine. January finds out at her dad's funeral that her dad was cheating on her mother. Her mother, who had, by the way, gone through cancer and then had gone into remission. But apparently at some point in that time, he was cheating on their mom with this like other woman. And he leaves her the kind of lakeside, because this takes place in Michigan, so it's kind of lakeside house that he was sharing with this other woman, but he leaves it to her, and she decides that while she is going through the house and like selling stuff and getting it ready to sell the house, that she is also going to use it as an opportunity to write, because she is an author who hasn't like had anything written in months and months and months, and is kind of hitting a roadblock. And when she moves into this house for the summer, she meets the next door neighbor, and it's actually a academic rival from her college days named Augustus, who is also an author now. And they basically end up getting into this bargain where she challenges him to write a romance book, since she thinks he doesn't respect the genre and doesn't think he can do it, and he basically is daring her to write a darker non-romance book. Like, I think he writes, what's the equivalent? I'm trying to remember, like, I think it said what genre he writes. It's more like a literary, like a dark literary fiction kind of books, maybe even like thriller territory in some cases. His books are definitely darker though, and he never writes a happy ending. So they end up like, you write a romance, I'll write a dark contemporary fiction or whatever, and we'll see which one of us has a book that ends up being published by the end of the summer. I thought it was a lot of fun. The romance in this was cute. The darker element of like the dad cheating storyline was actually super interesting to me. Like, I don't know, I thought it was an interesting like level, because not only is she facing the grief of losing her father, but also the grief of that father not being who she thought he was, which I thought was super interesting. So, yeah, 5 stars. Alright, up next, my biggest surprise of this month, I think, which I read The Spell Shop, and I gave this book 5 stars. Now, I don't want to say I thought this book was going to be bad, because I didn't. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. Like, I did not think it was going to be as good as it was. Like, because, like, I know, like, sometimes, like, some of the books that get really popular on Book Talk, they can be a bit hit or miss, you know? Like, I've definitely really liked some of the popular ones, but I've also really disliked some of the popular ones. But The Spell Shop, I thoroughly enjoyed. I loved how, like, whimsical the world was. I loved the little small coastal town, and all the characters were a lot of fun. The romance was a bit love at first sight, like, I mean, not really love at first sight because they knew each other as kids, I guess, but, like, the romance could have used a little bit of work, but, like, I still thoroughly enjoyed it, so it still got 5 stars. I thought it was a lot of fun, and it's basically about this librarian and her sentient spider plant, Kaz, run away from the capital and go back to her childhood, like, coastal town that she grew up in before her parents and her moved to the capital. They go back because the capital is now in turmoil because of a rebellion that happened, and then the emperor was killed and all of this. And so they're like, we can hang out here. They have a bunch of spell books that they stole from the library because the library was set on fire, so they wanted to preserve the books, so they kind of stole them. And she decides that she wants to live a nice quiet life away from everybody, but she starts seeing, like, the town that she grew up in has fallen on hard times, and apparently it's related to the fact that the king or the capital is no longer sending magicians to come out, or sorcerers or whatever, to come out and do the magic that they have to do to keep the ecosystem running. Like, there's a big mer horse, like, industry. I don't know if industry is the right word, because it's not an industry, it's one family that the mer horses kind of help bring fish into the cove, which helps with the fishing, all of this. But the mer horse the population has been dwindling because you need a sorcerer to kind of help with the, like, birthing process. It was like a whole thing. I shouldn't explain every single little thing. It was like trees were wilting, and like a stream that had always been flowing was no longer flowing, all of this kind of stuff. And so she starts using magic spells that she takes from the spell books, even though she's not a sorcerer. She starts using those spells to slowly replenish the island back to its former glory, and is an unknowing hero. I loved it. I thought the mer horses were fun. All the different magical creatures in this book actually were so fun. It is official that I will have to check out the rest of the standalone books that are in this little, like, this world. I think she has 3 out right now that are all set in this world. But I definitely am gonna have to check the rest of them out. So yeah, 5 stars if I didn't say that already. Alright, next. This one, I wouldn't say it was also a surprise. It's definitely not the biggest surprise like The Spell Shop was, because I haven't heard anything about it. I kind of chose this one more or less because of the cover. As you can see, the cover is absolutely gorgeous. But The Swan's Daughter, this reminds me so much of just, like, a classic fairy tale, but, like, at a longer form than the short stories that were the classic fairy tales, if that makes sense. Like, we basically follow one of the Swan's daughter. She has, like, 6 daughters or 7 daughters with this super bad sorceress or whatever, who has, like, wants to be immortal, and the swan is kind of like I forgot what they're called, like the specific kind of swan they are. I want to say it started with a V. Velitros swans? Something like that. But when they fall in love, the person that they love holds the key to their transformations or whatever, so they can kind of control them, and they can't go very far. And it's like they control their heart if they have if the swan falls in love or whatever. And that's what happened to her mom, is the sorcerer tricked her into falling in love with him, and then when he revealed his true self and now had complete control over her. But in the end, it was still kind of love. It was really weird. It's a weird setup, as most fairy tales are, right? And so she has these 7 daughters, and 6 of her daughters are like standard, beautiful, or whatever, but the 7th is different than the others. And it basically gets revealed that she is the key, like cutting out her heart is the key to the spell that makes her father immortal. So she runs away and ends up joining a contest to marry a prince who is cursed for his true love to kill him and carve out his heart. So she's kind of like, listen, I have the ability as a Velatros, or whatever it was called, swan, to sing, and the people have to say the truth, so I can vet all of the other people in this competition to figure out if they want to murder you and get them kicked out, if you will help me stay in the competition and grant me asylum here so my father doesn't kill me, basically. And so they strike this deal, and it goes on like this. And, obviously there's kind of a connection that ends up happening. It was cute. I was a little nervous because it's not called a romance, it's called a doomed love story. So I was really nervous going into this. But I still thoroughly enjoyed it. And again, just the fairy tale vibes, the fantasy world setup, I thought was so creative. Some of the concepts, and I'm sure a lot of these were probably taken from folklore in some degree, but I feel like a lot of these concepts is exactly what I feel like has been missing from the fantasy genre lately. This kind of whimsical, fairy tale kinds of setups. I don't know. I definitely think if you liked the Rose Bargain, I think you would definitely like this because of the marriage competition. And if you I don't know if I wouldn't call this a cozy book, but there was a cozy elements to it. Definitely she's making friends, she's discovering her own strengths, all of this fun stuff. I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I had a thoroughly good time with this one. Alright, up next is a real banger. This one has gone on my list for books I need a physical copy of, and that is This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me. This is a portal fantasy book about a woman that ends up in her favorite fantasy series, but it's a dark fantasy series. It's a series where everybody dies or whatever. And it was a trilogy where the 3rd book never came out. The author could just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. So when she wakes up in the land, she has to figure out a plan just to survive because of how cutthroat this universe is. It'd be if a girl a girl like me fell into Mistborn or something like that world. It'd be just awful. But she's so witty, she's so smart, and she uses what she knows of the world because she loves the fantasy series so much and knows so much about the world building and all the little things about it. She uses that to her advantage and starts climbing up from a person begging on the streets to slowly making allies and slowly getting involved with more and more people. And she starts thinking maybe I can stop the bad events that happened in the book from happening. It was so good. I was so I kept on feeling just the need to keep listening. I wanted nothing more but to consume this book. I really want a physical copy of it. It's one of those, I might wait until all 3 books are out and then get special editions or something. I don't know. I loved it so much. I cannot wait for whenever the next book comes out in this series. It was so good that I'm now considering looking into more of the books that this author has written. And seeing, because I think this is a pretty big fantasy author. Because if I love this book so much, imagine how many other books of theirs that I can explore. They might be going on my deep dive author list that I have going on. So, yeah, I cannot recommend this book enough, especially for all the fantasy lovers out there. This felt like a love letter to fantasy lovers. and fantasy as a genre. Like, and the romance that is in it, I might have a new favorite book boyfriend. I mean, not absolute favorite, but he's going on like the top 5 list, I think. Finally, ending this wrap up with the rereads I did for this month, my SJM rereads, and I have some fantastic news for you guys. So I don't know if you have watched my other wrap-up videos, you know that I have been working on rereading SJM books in preparation for the ACOTAR 6 coming out in October, and I was saying how I wanted to finish Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn this month, and at least start Kingdom of Ash, because like I also knew, because I wanted to read this and get the Emily Henry deep dive out of the way, that I at least wanted to plan to finish these two, and read Beach Read and call it good. Well, your girl finished Kingdom of Ash as well. I read all 3 books in July. I did it. It's also because this stretch of books, I think, is my favorite stretch of the entire series. And now that I have finished this series, I do actually think that Empire of Storms might actually be my favorite in the series. Though I loved Tower of Dawn a lot more in this reread than I did the first time I read it. I did not do these as tandem reads. I did them as separate reads, doing Empire of Storms first and then Tower of Dawn, and I liked it a lot better that way, to be honest. Now, I like the timeline order, like, especially for my first time reading it, because I liked seeing the events as they happened, but reading them as separate, I think, was better just because of the pacing, the information we were getting. Like, it makes sense reading them separately. And then, Kingdom of Ash, the only reason it is not my favorite of the series is because I hated 90% of the Adian chapters. Like, the Adian and Lysandra chapters were such a slog for me to get through. But, again, all these books are still 5 stars. I still absolutely love Kingdom of Ash. It's definitely, like, my second favorite Throne of Glass book. Like, and it still wrecked me. I still cried at some points. Not as much as my original read, but there was definitely still tears in my eyes for some of the really big moments near the end. If you know, you know. I will not get into it more than that. Though, keep an eye out. When it gets closer to October, I'm going to be doing a bunch of SJM content, including an SJM deep dive. And I will, at that point, have hoped to have read all of the way through, reread all of her books, so I can give you a full favorite SJM book, least favorite SJM book, all of that, deep dive into some theories, and all of that stuff. I don't know. I might make the deep dive video and like a theories video, 2 separate videos. We'll see where it takes us. But yeah, those are all the books I read in July. I feel like I have such a good like little catalog here. Like, I feel like I was really happy with everything that I read this month. And I'm hoping for more from August. Like, I'm going to be starting, actually I've already started, Crescent City, my Crescent City reread. Oh, I have cat hair stuck in my book. I've already started my Crescent City reread. I'm not very far. I'm only on like chapter 3. Also though, speaking of, wouldn't this be a great Crescent City tattoo? I'm starting to think of what kind of, I want to get a tattoo for each of the SJM series. But I want them all to each be simple. So for Throne of Glass, I want to get a heart on fire, just a simple fire heart one. But I would love to get the bird and the moon crescent for my Crescent City. But that's beside the point. Let's get into my August TBR, which you already saw one of them. Alright, for the August TBR, you already saw one. But I will be starting Crescent City, have started Crescent City, so I do want to read Crescent City 1, and I also hope this month to read Crescent City 2. I can get both of these read. I'm only doing these 2 because they're both long, but I said that about Tower of Dawn and Empire Storms, so we'll see. But again, bare minimum want to get these 2 done. It would be fantastic if I could also get House of Flame and Shadow read as well. But I don't want to be overly ambitious and then disappoint myself. So we are going to go with just these 2 for now. If I do finish House of Flame and Shadow this month, I will be ahead on my ACOTAR reread at least. So It's fine. I again won't put too much pressure on myself. Okay, but besides that, I also, so for the buddy read that I do with my friend every month, it's my turn to pick, and I chose When the Tides Held the Moon. We were both talking about how we were kind of in the mood for something mermaid related, and this is, I mean, technically a merman, but this is basically about a kind of freak show carnival situation. This guy helps fund and build this freak show carnival and gets offered to stay with them and offer to be a part of their show or whatever, and as they get set up, he discovers that they have a merman as part of their show, as part of their, like one of their exhibits or whatever. And as he starts to talk to this merman and get to know him and realizes that he, like, is a full person with, like that likes philosophy and, like, all of this kind of stuff, and he, like, apparently, he supposedly will start to fall in love with this merman and may have to choose between, like, helping free this merman or staying with these people and finally having a place to belong, that kind of situation. At least that's what I got from the synopsis. So, I think this sounds like a lot of fun. I feel like this could be very good. I'm excited to try it out. And then finally, my Exploring Smut pick for August is The Assassin's Dancer. And this is inspired by the 12 Dancing Princesses, except I think this author is planning on doing a story for each of the princesses, so 12 stories in total, which is insane. But this is, like, there's only 2 out right now, and I'm doing the first one for, you know, because you gotta start at the beginning. And this follows a princess who is put into an arranged marriage that she does not want to be a part of. And so she hires an assassin to take out the guy that's supposed to be her future husband. But the assassin becomes obsessed with her. This is going to be dark. Or supposedly dark. I've heard it's dark. It claims to be intense. I will be the judge of that. I am excited to see what it has in store. I like the 12 Dancing Princesses aesthetic. The 12 Dancing Princesses is one of my favorite Barbie movies. I also read a book when I was a kid called, I think it was called Twisted, or something like that, Enchanted, something like that, that was also based off the 12 Dancing Princesses, that was so good. There's a part of me that wants to reread it because it's also available on Kindle Unlimited, but I'm scared that if I reread it as an adult, I'll hate it. So I probably won't be rereading it. But, again, Exploring Smut is going to be The Assassin's Dancer. Go ahead, and if you want to join me in my journey reading it before the video comes out, give it a read. Let me know what you think. Yeah. Alright, and that is it for my July reading wrap-up and August TBR. Put in the comments below, what did you think of any of these books? Have you guys read any of these books? Give me your own opinions. Did you love them as much as I did? Are you doing an SJM reread? Let me know in the comments below. Where are you in Throne of Glass if you are? All of that fun stuff. Let me know what you think of the Exploring Smut book as well. A like if you want to see more content like this. Follow if you also want to see more content like this. And I will see you guys in the next video. I love you guys. Goodbye.